I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, everybody good on getting this started with that? Then it is second to accept the agenda as stated for this evening. Any other pending questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All right. And visitors to address the board, and this is time for public comment on non-agenda items. Yes, anybody that just got to tell us something. Okay, nobody on there? No requests. All right. So we'll go on to 4.0 to the consent agenda. And if anybody's got any questions or anything, I can use that. I moved and seconded to accept the consent agenda as stated. All those in favor say aye. Takes us right on to 5.0. 5.1 is budget priorities.
Yeah, well, that was quick.
I'm done.
Right, so I'd like to have our principal come up and join us at the table. And then can we, I'm gonna share my screen? I don't know if I have a login.
That was right.
I don't know if I have a login to. I thought it was easier if I shared mine.
Okay.
You would take out your document, please. So, as Christy pointed out, this is the strategic plan survey. It's actually been in the works for about 2 years now. And we're moving forward with our strategic plan. I thought this would be an excellent way, first of all, to begin with review of this, but also to share some of the priorities that our community has put in here. And then I was going to give, actually I have two big picture priorities, and then we'll have our principals share theirs. And then I did tell the principals, however, that as soon as they were done sharing, we were going to get to the lead.
I don't have to hear. Someone turn on the mic, the marketing, Chris. Could you turn on the mic when you're there? They're having a little trouble hearing, that might help.
You see the button? Yeah.
That does usually help. I have a quick question before we get started on them. Do we either have a way or like an actual physical list that we can have copies afterwards, or that we can at least get one
We'll put
of everything?
Yeah,
Because it'll be a lot to remember, so it'd
Yeah.
be nice to have the list from you guys, if I can individually or independently for each building.
We'll put a list together.
Okay, great, thank you.
I need a.
Sorry, because you want that from anybody.
That's an index. It should be in your email.
There it is. Do I have to register?
Of course you do. I'm just trying to think.
Is there something I can pull up for you? Or did you find last year?
I thought I could actually make that for me.
Even if I try half an hour here, I won't get it till I have to make this as well.
Like I shouldn't have handed out that before I got to walk you through it. You guys are gonna have it there, right?
That's what he said.
Just
It's like a double with you recording.
That's what you do.
No, I was on the front page, I was my favorite, so I'm like,
Can you give me rights to share? If not, I guess I can just forward you.
Morning,
Come on in.
Sit wherever you want. Come speak by me.
It didn't get posted at the budget committee.
All right, I think I got it. All right, I think I'm on now.
Okay, there you go. Announcements.
Here we go. All right, so this is a strategic planning for the 23 through 26. We've adjusted it so we go 3 years instead of 5. What research tells us is that 5 years is too long. And if you're going to be a nimble organization, you need to keep things moving. So that's done here. What I want to do is point out the questions. I've highlighted them in green. Here's the team. We can look at that at a later time. Some background information. But here are the important pieces, the questions. So question number 1, what is the school district doing well that you do not want to change or reduce? Number 2, what is the most important change, addition, improvement, or adjustment? For example, teaching and learning facilities, policy and funding, extracurricular, etc., that you suggest the district make over the next 3 years. What are some core values and beliefs you think should be presented in the district strategic plan? 4, how can the district better serve all students, specifically its students living in poverty, students with disabilities, students of color, LGBTQ+, students talented and gifted students, and students learning English? And then how can we better connect with our community to increase communication? What else would you like to suggest? So question number 1 and 2, in particular, I think serve us pretty well, giving the board some ideas as far as some of the things that the community would like to see. I do want to make a compliment to Stacey Mendoza. She worked with Mr. Colonna to put this together, but she's the graphic designer of the whole piece and really came together quite nice, something to be proud of. Pretty amazing. Review, and then it gets to the question. So, what is the district doing well? There's lots of positives in here. There's also some good constructive criticism. So the first one I think that should be noted by the board is that the high school offering awesome career educational readiness programs, auto shop, renovation, restoration, health occupation should not change other than continue to grow. And these are what they don't want changed or reduced. Continuing to serve families during the summer. Keep expanding and improving career and technical education programs. Keep improving facility maintenance. Really appreciate having the summer academy and enrichment programs. So all those are what they'd like to see continue. And you can see there's multiple other items, but they don't necessarily all align with dollars and cents. Next one is, this is what one of the most important things to change, additions, improvements, or adjustments make. So highlighted here is, after having students graduate from St. Helens High School, I'd like to see a class for juniors or seniors that would really help them with applications, scholarships, and the process involved in finding the right college. They would have greater success at fulfilling their dream and having a better idea of where to go and what to take to ensure their future. Students need to be aware of deadlines, be able to prepare what is needed, get scholarships, career counseling for all would be helpful, also include classes, various careers, trades, sparks interest students, future and give some ideas. I know there's some career type education in place. With this, I think it's important to note that we hear on a regular basis from listening sessions that some type of a class with kind of essentially like living standards, not standards, but living skills. So everything from doing your taxes to taking out the loan to even organizing a future. All right, next item is continuation of eliminating sports fees. So I think another way of putting that is keep paying for sports fees. Continue making improvements to athletic fields and buildings, grow and expand current career tech programs, install new playground equipment at Columbia City. That one's pretty specific, but I think all of our elementaries would fall into that.
Did you not highlight that one? Create individual education plans for high school students and optimal learning options for groups and grades.
No, I didn't have that.
Good one.
It is a good one, but I'm not sure if it's a budget request.
It sounds like a better.
More college credit classes with options to graduate with associate's degree, new and upgraded facilities. And question number 3, we just kind of review core values. They say all sorts of great things that they want our students to be. Respect, they want rigor in instruction, trust. I think number 4, how can the district better serve students? First one, right at the top, add a coordinator to each school who could sit with students and families to find out their individual needs, will help them support and direct them to available resources and connect them to people in the community. Our community is lacking in jobs. Foster an atmosphere of love and equality. Don't label people or groups, people, and make them feel different or more special than the next person. Offering free breakfast, to-go snacks, and meals at the high school with blessing to many, and remove the free lunch kids stigma, since all could have it. Even if it were just a breakfast bar and an apple, that would be a great thing to keep going if there is funding. Who doesn't like to start the morning off with a free gift and food? A great smile. Increase partnerships with Park and Rec for more access to financial support. Make tangible resources available for families who need assistance. Offer more access to school programs, even if it means charging more fees to participate, which is interesting. Earlier one said keep it free, and this person says whatever it takes to add. And then question number, how to best connect with our community, how to better be future oriented with the district budget, make sure the money will last over the years. Increase events where families can come and watch their students in action. Increase public use of our facilities by reducing fees so more people can use them. And I believe that is it. From my quick analysis, take yours home, review them, and we can talk about it at a later date. But these right now are just focused on budget. As Kelly pointed out, there's certainly other items in here that may not be directed to budget. All right, you could figure it out. Let me see. Stop sharing here. There we go. All right. So one thing that I think is important to note, the governor just came out with her recommendation for education K-12 was $9.9 million, which is better than what we were expecting, but still isn't enough for us to just simply roll forward everything that we currently have. And the challenge that we face is the way they calculate what they think we should have for rollover dollars is flawed. A good example is inflation is just a flat 2%, and we all know that we've had increases more than 2%. So those things kind of hold us back, but as the legislature goes forward, we generally see an increase in the budget, and we also see some efficiencies as we reconcile our budget. But right now at 9.9, that doesn't keep us whole. With that said, we have money this year, and this is a tough thing for folks to understand. We want to be prudent and we don't want to squander money. But the money that we're given every biennium is for the students that we currently have. And I think that's really important for everybody to remember, that we don't want to save money and hurt the kids that we have now and that we're trying to serve because we're worried about what we might see in the future. So I think that's important for everybody to know. It's not that we should, again, squander money, but just be mindful. The money this biennium is given to us by the state to spend on the students during this biennium. And I share that because we have a supplemental budget coming up that we're saying use some more money, plus support the kids today. I have two priorities. The number one priority in the budget, as I see it, is for staffing and their support for professional development. We've got some good momentum going with some professional development. We've got some strong staff, and I want to do everything we can to maintain both that we have. The other piece is through curriculum. We've started our curriculum adoption cycle. We've got our teaching and learning team that is doing some really fantastic work rolling out new curricular materials. And I think it's critical that we continue to give the tools to our teachers that they need to serve. So those would be just my two priorities. If we could take care of those two things, then we'd be in good shape. Now, I've kind of said my piece, kind of shared what the community was thinking to some degree for a strategic plan, and we want to hear from our school principals. We have 4 of them here, 5 of them with Katie. When I shared with our principals, I told them I wanted a big picture. I reminded them of the 9.9 wasn't going to cut it for us, but I did want them to develop a list of things that they felt would support their school. I said, please don't make this a wish list, as you know, the details, but more of a big picture, something that we could wrap our heads around. So we've got a variety of different requests and thoughts, and I'll just have them kind of go through. And then what I would ask is for them to stick around for a few moments so the board could ask some questions, have a little bit of a dialogue, and then when we're done kind of interrogating them a little bit, then I'd like to be able to cut them loose so they can get going and get on home. So, all right, is there anybody that's really eager to go first?
Start.
Okay. Chris?
You go first.
Okay. Sounds good. Hello, everybody. In case you didn't know, I'm Chris William, principal at the middle school, so I'll speak about the needs at St. Helens Middle School, and then I can forward this to you guys via email or however you would like.
Let's just send everything to Christy.
Oh, perfect. I will send it to you.
Put it together and get it
Okay.
out.
So this was difficult to prioritize. Our team came together knowing this was a request of the board to kind of understand what our needs are, and we came up with 4 things, but it was hard to.
I do too, I think it's making the voice sound.
Starting again. Off and on.
You went on.
Okay.
Thank you, sorry. Distracted.
No worries. So I'm going to give them to you in the order that I think is best, but let's see. So the first concern and thing that we would like to improve through additional staffing is the amount of visibility of adults during passing times and during our 3 lunch periods. We've grown, as a school, not only in size of the school, but the number of students. And it's difficult to monitor them all safely during those times. Also, I want them to continue to feel like they have access to students to our restrooms and to our facilities. But as middle school students, they move around the building without direct supervision. They can find themselves into troublesome scenarios. And we've seen a significant increase recently in the bringing of substances into our school, specifically nicotine and marijuana substances, whether that's edibles or vape pens or whatever. Yes, they are very accessible to the kids, and they're very easy to conceal and use without our knowledge. And middle school students are at that age where they're very effective at coordinating things logistically via cell phones and other devices that they have. And so it's tough for us to keep up with them. So we need the extra manpower. So I would recommend one additional instructional assistant at our school, more like a campus monitor, relationship builder, someone who's constantly monitoring our hallways and our restrooms for safety. That would be our top priority. Our second priority for improvement and would be to create a position that would use one of our current staff members who's highly effective at doing social emotional supports and tier 1 interventions in the classroom. So we have one classroom that is very, very successful that almost never has removals of students. And that teacher is just really effective at tier 1 universal supports in the classroom, designing the classroom that meets the needs of all kids at the middle school level. I would like to have that person coaching our staff and going and observing our teachers and supporting our teachers with those same practices. It's almost like in-house professional development with somebody who the staff greatly respects and supports. So it's like an instructional coach and intervention support member. Basically, we would need funding to likely, I guess, pull them out of the classroom for several periods a day, fill that position with somebody else so that they could then support our staff with improving their classroom. That would probably be something that we see as a temporary kind of spending need, probably 1 to 2 years. Until we could build the capacity of those tier 1 supports in all classrooms with that person's help. So it's almost like an in-house. The third item on the list is support and professional development for our special education staff. This is a population of students that we feel could better be served in our building. At our secondary level, we can do a better job of accommodating the students' special needs and supporting their special needs. And that would come with more training and more support for our special education staff to know how to do that at a secondary level, especially in a collaborative model. We're really struggling with the collaboration between our special education staff and the services they provide and the general education staff. What we really want is we want special education students included in the general ed classrooms and receiving instruction that's at grade level and not always being pulled out to receive instruction at lower grade levels, because that just builds upon or compounds the gaps that they have. And we're struggling with understanding how to collaborate between special education and general education effectively. So I would say we could benefit from spending money in supporting and developing those staff members. And that's the top 3 items.
My last one, sorry to jump into the question already. If you're teaching at grade level in an area where there's like no knowledge and that they're trying to catch up, I'm just not sure how you teach those skills.
It's a great question. Yeah. So what we need to do is we need to structure our school so that students who need tier 3, which you're describing, which is special education students who have gaps that need to be addressed from elementary school even that we're seeing, those can be done in those resource classrooms in 1 time a day. But what I'm talking about is making sure that the rest of their courses, especially their core courses, they're receiving at grade level instruction so they're keeping up with their peers. And we can fill those gaps at a separate time within our system. But it's that coordinated effort to make sure that special education student is in a general ed classroom with an IA in there, accommodating their work or supporting their work so that they're with their peers and learning at the level that their peers are. One of the biggest issues we see is that our kids leave middle school oftentimes very sheltered still, and yet they're at a secondary school, and then they get to the high school and those same sheltering pieces are not there at that level, and now they're expected to earn credit and move on and graduate high school. We should be modeling a similar experience that the high school has at the middle school with some more intensive supports in place, but they should be at grade level in grade level classrooms receiving same standards that every other kid are receiving. And when we do that, to be honest with you, most of our students, our special education students, when we push them into general ed and ask them to try to survive, they do, and they get C's. and they get B's, and they sometimes get B's and A's. And what that tells us is they can do at grade level work. They just need to achieve at a high level. They need that extra support.
There's some pretty strong models that also have push in, so you might have an instructional assistant with that child during that class, and they may be working with 1 or 2, 3 kids during that math class, but providing support. So they don't have to do that.
Sometimes they need a reader. They just flat out can't read, but if somebody will read them their test or read them, this is the assignment, they're capable of doing the work, but they learn differently than the kids that sit next to them. And so sometimes it's accommodating their learning need, rather than, it's not an intellectual disability, it's a learning, the learning style change, and that needs to be addressed. Of course, I'm awfully sensitive about that, but it is an area that can happen, and we see it all the time. And we did in learning computers, we had the kids that are in the career class next door working in our class, and if you came in, you wouldn't know who was who, and some of them were doing, they went on to making a living doing those things. So it's very doable if you allow them to exceed your expectations.
We'll have a presentation on just that, on inclusion, because that's a direction we're moving as a district, and most other districts are.
Yeah, and like Mr. Gillard said, the high school already has a very similar model where they have individual instructors who work with those students in those Common Core classes, who walk them through the steps, who are with them all throughout the class, instead of just handing it off to the teacher who already has 30 plus students in a possibly dangerous setting, such as a cooking class or a metal shop or something like that, where they need to have their eyes everywhere all at once.
And really, the very thing that you identified, which is with these lagging skills, the issue that we're having is understanding how to support those lagging skills from a SPED perspective and understanding how to serve them at grade level at the same time. And that's where we need that training and that investment in the staff members so that we can do that work.
We were having to do with IEP at different levels. I feel like there is a less of that, and things like that were so much supporting. When we're trying to learn, that's the board. Support the basic function of learning.
And I want to do that without sacrificing at grade level experiences.
Okay, let's continue on. Should we still around? Yeah.
All right. So I have some new requests and a couple of continued support. These are just the things that keep coming for our staff. The first is full-time instructional assistants. I have outstanding instructional assistants that is very hard to attract and maintain quality staff when they're less than full-time hours. And that's kind of really committed person that's okay with 3.75 hours. And I don't want to lose the multiple people. IEs are crucial for supporting a workshop model in reading, writing, and math. And they also support intervention and enrichment support. The teacher does the work, but someone is there working with the other students. So it's kind of and then, of course, they do assistance divisions as well. At Columbia City, we've never had a full-time custodian in the evening, and that is very difficult. It's the same thing, being able to attract and maintain quality staff, to keep our building clean and safe, and the foreign person does undue stress on the daytime custodian. They're part-time staying on top of everything. I know you all noticed this, our sound system and performance area is a little lacking. We really do want to be able to hold assemblies, all school gatherings and performances with a good sound system and stage tech unit. Don't have exactly what we want yet, but something like that. Our playground was mentioned up there, although a sizable sum was granted to all of their schools. Columbia City does seem to have a slightly older and more unsafe playground, particularly for preschool through 5th grade, and we're not giving that otter pups to anyone. Otter pups clubs are staying, so we love our art. After-school care is also a thing that would be really beneficial. You know, with over at Wilson Park, our kids are already on the bus for over an hour. And so, I think the families and our students would benefit from affordable care that is on site and possibly some after-school enrichment type things. We would really like to collaborate with this provider so that it's aligned with our school philosophy and the way we do things in the school. And then the last thing is because we're not getting with our otter pups, we anticipate 2 grades per year, hopefully. And so that means we need to remodel the area for our wellness class, which is also not willing to give up that very, very valuable space. So this is a new request, and we continued support. We have had a lot of support for professional development and substitute coverage, and continuing that, we've got a fund, I think it's called.
It's not called a club.
Oh, I call it that, fluffy? Okay. Teachers and staff need time during their regular work week and their day to engage in professional development and collaboration beyond the early release. And we're really going deep in this learning, that's beneficial. And then our less than full-time staff, for instance, that I have in my building, also need to be compensated for staying longer hours. And then my final request is our EL education contract. Our staff is very committed to moving forward with the EL education and would like to be recognized as an EL education school. And so this includes funds for travel and conferences and our work with our school design.
So to clarify the fund that,
Oh, it's not called that, sorry.
no, it's not called that. That's the fund that we use for, overtime and time for staff.
Discretionary.
Discretionary.
I, yeah.
And it's utilized for, I've had times that show holidays, and work with staff, and I brought staff in, stay a little bit longer. So it's utilized for those things to support development. There's only so many hours in the day, and they have families and things to do, so trying to take that.
Use it to extend some aid time.
Yes.
Have them come in with trainings when they don't necessarily have time to work, so we utilize it. Thank you. Mr. Fink.
Thank you. My turn to talk and then Ryan leaves, so,
Maybe right back.
yeah.
We have saying when you don't want to be here.
Well, with that, thank you. I'll take that advice. Dr. Finn, principal at McBride. I do want to note, I appreciate Mr. Stockwell advising us, hey, this is important, but also not a wish list. So we can be responsible for the funds. I don't want to say this was easy, but it was important to make it not complicated and to say, hey, what do we need as a building? What does McBride need? And then really to narrow down what do the students at McBride need. So it should be student-centered, that's our business. First thing that came to mind, in fact, I can say these are my top 3, it's all the same thing, and that would be, echo Ms. Anderson's students here, full-time IAs. And I want to make clear and specific that I don't want an instructional assistant for behavior response, or an instructional assistant for maybe sometimes reading, or for period, lunch, recess, duty coverage. In fact, we need instructional assistants for all the above, because when we're supporting any one student, we want to make sure that we cover all 3, their social, emotional, behavior, academic, again, the whole child. So with that, our expectations for the staff are quite high. We want to make sure that they're inviting, welcoming, loving, caring, and that they are allowing a positive, trusting relationship. And it is in fact difficult to find a quality person that has the time and commitment to care. And so I want to honor the opportunity for these part-time individuals, based on performance and need, we might have to offer a full-time. I'm hoping that could be the case. I think that's important for our students. And again, looking at what students need, especially in the primary grades of kindergarten, first, second, when students And this is critical. When students are learning to read, you really want to make sure that we're folding in as much support instruction-wise regarding literacy. So phonics, letter sound and clustering and consonant, vowel, consonant, and just learning to read, because we know, and I know that you already know this, kindergarten per second, they're learning to read, and then for the rest of our lives, their lives, read to learn. Appreciate Mr. Williams just a moment ago speaking on fostering, I think, independence of students, and instead of being sheltered, even at the kindergarten level, we want to encourage and give confidence to students. So rather than dependent students, of course, we want to raise independent students. Of course, I don't mean free from guidance, but I mean provide support. And again, full-time instructional systems have just been a win for teachers, parents, and of course for us students. So I can't stress that enough. Second one, listening to teachers, just having my ears out all the time. What is one thing that would help you help students? And the common answer that I've gotten are classroom learning materials. And that's different than like glue sticks and scissors and tape and like office supplies. And it's also different than textbooks. It's the materials in between, like the manipulatives, the hands-on tools that students can use to, well, that's just it, hands-on tools that students can create imagination and creativity to like, oh, that's how maybe that science concept works, or math, or to create shapes and make a letter. So all the little important tools that do not come in the classroom. And saying this, particularly at McBride, we've got quite a few brand new teachers or even second-year teachers that have spent a substantial amount of their own money. When I ask, the $50, $100, they kind of smile at me like, no, $1,500, $2,000. And I don't smile back. I appreciate their dedication and commitment. I just want to make sure our new teachers have the tools, again, to support students. So, God asked me what do we call those, and I've got a name. Learning center materials. It's the common lingo that teachers use to describe this question of our learning tools. Third and last, I'm understanding that tech and computers and interactive screens and elements are already, it's already been considered and voted. I just want to say thank you for that. That is just a useful tool in every classroom. Teachers, I'll give an example that we've got a smart board in one class at each grade level. So there's 3 kindergarten classes, 3 first grade. They've been nice enough to share, or students will go and we'll switch classrooms so the teachers can have that interactive learning and we can go in touch and be involved in learning that way. So those smart screens, smart boards have proven to be positively useful and effective. So thank you for that. That's a good use of that. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Appreciate that. I'm Martin Heeman. I'm one of the interim principals at Lewis and Clark. Brooke and I consulted with our team. Along similar lines, we'd like to maintain current staffing supports. We could be maintaining paraeducator who is in the Cove and the COSA who's in what's called the Lighthouse. They provide ongoing daily support for students, social emotional needs, teaching them how to take breaks appropriately, doing the interventions with them, and really working with the students to develop those skills that are lagging so that they can be in the classroom more and be able to function better. Again, much like the other elementary principals, increasing the hours for IAs so that they can be there consistently all day long versus only being there for part of the day
And that also would help to go along with response to intervention work the high school and middle school is doing, like their elementaries there, and that they can kind of stepping out of the way with my doing teaching and learning. But RTI is a very effective way of increasing student learning. We'd also like to have additional funds for intervention materials and other type of resources, like Mr. Fink was saying, to increase student learning and engagement in the classroom. More of a broader picture, continue with conscious discipline and really having our teachers be supported with that learning so that they can increase student SEL in the classroom. And then also continue with added funding throughout the district, but adding some additional funding for elementaries to be able to do things like school-specific planners for fourth and fifth graders, so that when they move up to middle school, they have those skills and tools already available to them. So, those are our things that
And last but not least, Principal Wagner.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Oh, perfect. Well, thank you so much for being flexible and allowing me to join you from home. I have been out with fever going through my family, so don't want to get anyone sick. Katie Wagner, principal at St. Helens High School. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of what we've heard from the community, both in the strategic plan, but also through our bond work. The strategic plan identified that our school community really wants to continue to grow our career technical education programs and also our electives and having those accessible to our students. And then also we've clearly made some pretty hefty investments into our facilities, and that will be ongoing for the next couple of years. But the ultimate goal of that is to improve our student and our community experience and have a school that we can be really proud of. The facilities themselves actually play a huge role in climate and culture and student engagement and students being excited and proud to come to school, and having that investment with our entire community, staff included. So the priorities are really aligned to those two areas. First, I would be remiss if I did not just reiterate something that I'm sure all of you know, is that our sound system at our football field is in dire need of getting an overhaul. We've looked at some different options over the years, but we've definitely noticed the quality of announcements at games is very difficult to hear. Announcements during assemblies is challenging, and Colton can speak to that. When we have graduation, if we're using our in-house system, it's not up to par with the ability to stream effectively for graduation. So that is something that impacts our entire school community, not just the students that are there, but our overall St. Helens community. The other piece that is impacted by our facilities right now is because we don't have access to our gyms, and during the rainy seasons, going outside for PE is not super conducive to a lot of activity. We are limited in our space that we can offer PE and how many students can take PE classes. And what we've seen is, because we've had to limit that, is that students have then been pushed into other elective courses in order to have their full schedule, simply because we don't have enough PE teachers, one, and enough spaces for students to take a PE class because of our facilities limitations. And so with that, those classes that they're taking are electives that have a lot more consumables. So for example, taking art, the cost of clay and paint has significantly increased. When we have more students taking it, it has a higher operational cost. Same thing with our culinary arts program. That program has become a shining star of our CTE program. And you've all partaken in our Lion Catering. And with that comes the cost of groceries to run all of our curriculum, in addition to the student-run business side of Lion Catering. Developing a new health occupations program, there's things like tape and gauze and those types of consumables. The cost of metal and wood and automotive materials have all increased. So the operational costs of our CTE programs and our elective programs has continued to increase as we've seen inflation in our economy, but also an increased interest in students wanting to take these classes. So that is one area that we could use additional funding. Another piece around curriculum is we are really excited that we just hired a new theater director who our ultimate goal and our vision is to have a fully robust visual and performing arts department, and have our music teachers collaborate with our theater teacher and actually put together some pretty large scale productions, including musicals, which have not been part of the St. Helens theater scene for a number of years. And that also includes some operational cost on the front end to get that moving. There's royalties to pay for the actual scores of music, and then also pay for supporting our music directors, any subs, acting directors. So there's some costs involved in getting that. Obviously, with ticket sales, we recoup some of that as well, but kind of to get it going needs a little bit of a boost. The other piece that I want to share too is that a couple years ago, actually when I first came on about 5 years ago, a lot of teachers were still under the mindset that we could be collecting fees for participating in those elective classes. And when we shared with them that state law prohibits us from charging class fees, we could ask for donations. It caused some anxiety because they weren't sure how they were going to pay for all of their supplies. So we've continued to work over the years in offsetting that, but that continues to be a concern, and it hasn't been a practice for very long to be doing that. The next piece about staffing, I mentioned we have 3 health/PE teachers. So all students are required to take 1 full year of health and 1 full year of PE to graduate. And right now we have 3 teachers that teach all 800 of those students to meet those graduation requirements. So adding a health and PE, and then also adding a world language teacher to provide some more options for our students is a high priority for us. And then finally, our professional development, Chris spoke to this a little bit. We really want to be making data-driven student intervention decisions and supporting all students to be successful at grade level and receiving embedded supports so that we keep students in school motivated, excited, and we're not playing catch up after the fact and having to invest in credit recovery, which we should be providing kids what they need when they need it. So providing our staff with professional development in how we can better respond as responsible educators to students' needs, learning how we can better support our colleagues, have improved communication and collaboration. That will help us make sure that we're having essential standards identified across the school district, not just at the high school, and that we can align our assessments, have some more coherency and more consistency across the board. I think everyone would really benefit and appreciate having some consistency in practices, knowing that you're going to get a similar experience from one class to the next, independent of the teacher. And with that takes a lot of time and professional learning to get to that place. So anything that we can do to support that professional development for our staff would be greatly benefiting all of our students, not just the ones that need additional interventions, but making sure that all students in all of our groups are getting what they need to be challenged and to continue their learning journey. So those were my priorities.
So we've got the feedback from students. We'll keep them here if you guys have some questions for them. Otherwise, we'll cut them loose and then we'll move on to developing the board priorities. So if you have questions for our
Principals?
That's all I hear. For the extra items we use in the classroom, be it learning tools or, there's extra fees now, we want to do culinary arts or whatever it is. Can you put maybe it's an Amazon wish list, I'm not sure. But each teacher has one and that goes out to the parents. Because I can tell you as a parent of a student, I'm more than happy to purchase those items and supply them, but I don't know what the needs are. I don't know what the wishes are, the requests are above and beyond. So maybe it would be an easy way to get community help and support without impacting the budget. Unless there is something.
I know that some teachers utilize Amazon wish lists for various things at high school. However, I do not know if they publicize those to the community, especially not for classroom material needs. But I do know that a lot of them do utilize Amazon wish lists.
I think it's also donor cases or something with the teacher one. We had a 20 iPad purchase for New Bride just a couple of years ago through that one, because the teacher posted what they wanted and sent it out to parents.
Right.
So,
That involvement.
yeah, I really appreciate that, and, the community connection support is fantastic. My feeling is always, we need to make sure we're spending the money that we have first before we reach out to our community. So, but what I worry about is oftentimes we have funds for pencils, for example, and we have staff that haven't got the message that we have funds for those pencils, and they're asking for pencils. And so parents provide money for pencils, but then we have a field trip that we don't have budgeted that we want to send kids on. And now parents don't have or don't want to provide additional money, we save money for pencils. So managing that all is really, really important. So whenever we're asking for funds, we want to make sure it's critical. That's a really great strategy for us. Any other questions for our team?
Some of the things that I've seen, when we removed the shop carts, and we said, okay, now there's $5 per student. And 10 years ago, or whenever, that was fine. But today that buys a 2x4. That it just, so that money that was generated by a $20 shop cart got replaced with a $5 line item. And we need to kind of look at what those things were so that we can support them adequately. And so we talked about increased supplies for the CTE programs and culinary arts or whatever. We need to make sure that we know what those needs really are. Because if we buy 2x4s, there's no money for drill bit and solids. And that's just kind of the way that shops always ran. Even when I was in high school, they did. But I mean, for today, what our need is, if we want equity and everybody to have the same opportunity, we just need to make sure that we're not still trying to fund it on $5. When I started teaching, I had $50 per student in science. When I retired, I had 5. That 5 didn't buy a beaker, so if somebody dropped one, we're bankrupt. And that's just $5 per science student. It was a nice budget, except that it was woefully inadequate compared to what we had in the early days. And so the good news is I squirreled away a lot of money for supplies, and by the time I retired, the cupboard was bare, but I made it through for the next guy. And so that's kind of really, I think, what you're seeing everywhere. Whether it's CTE or science or elementary, there's still, I'm sure at the elementary, you're still operating on some things that have been there for quite a while, and the set's almost complete. Well, my chess set has everything except the roll of Tootsie Rolls that I'm using for the queen, I right? Yeah, so, and that's gonna be true in every school, in every department. So we don't just speak just for science, we're speaking for, maybe this is an area where we can make our teachers feel better about coming and, okay, I have this supply, but it's so worn out, so broken, maybe they can provide a list of those things and what they currently cost, so that we can just, not more stuff, just fix what they've got, and so that they can use it. I mean, I can go over to, I can tell you right now, you know, the ripple tanks were broken when I left, and they haven't bought new ones. And so, you know, you can stand there with your pin and make it go like this and make the waves with your fingers, and it works. It's just not quite the same when you're having a kid do an experiment. So those are just things that I think we need to look at district-wide. There may be, and people are hesitant to ask. Just don't want to ask.
A good place they can do
Sure.
is doing type two of those.
And the foundation may also be able to generate some community support for these things but people have to know, and very often teachers they're innovative, they'll use the Tootsie Roll for the Queen rather than ask for a new chess set.
But I think to your point, if parents knew we needed chess sets and beakers, then folks,
Right.
they
Yeah.
I think that's a big
And that's kind of, anyway, I would it's not news, it's been going on for a few weeks, but anyway, that's news.
However, I will say, however, sometimes you can't use the Tootsie Roll in places because you have to.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, is that we should just buy it, you know, when we have these things that are worn out or lost, or somebody has taken apart or is broken, and you're in a science lab and now you can't use this really cool piece of equipment because one part's gone, well, then maybe if it's a good science lab, maybe we should buy that piece again and back after it. A microscope without an eyepiece is still just a very pretty hunk of metal.
clarify that.
One of the things Chris mentioned, maybe think of another something, but, you know, the snacks coming out of the student services area, I was wondering if they're still letting it and feeling very supported there. So where's that coming from, what's happening?
Usually we have taken our school budget and divided amongst those departments. That department has a budget that they can spend. So our student services has an amount. We also have a really cool care fund that parents donate to every year. And some of that comes from there. It's fabulous. It's amazing what a little snack does for our school day.
Or a 38-year-old.
Yeah.
Whenever you're growing, you gotta have it.
Any other clarifying questions for our principals and then let them loose?
Well, one thing I was thinking, like, there's different ways, you were talking about, you know, we can't always buy this, does that cost too much, or whatever, too, is that one of the things that I was thinking about, though, for example, let's say that you needed some new books, like I'm just going to that example, okay? I remember, and I don't remember what it was, that we had a family sponsor every single book. And we bought every one of the books, and inside, if they didn't want to, they didn't have to, but otherwise it was a little sticker saying that this family paid for and donated that book, or it could be 10 books in one, whatever, okay? But that, the books was possibly, there was too much money for one family or one person to do, but as a big community group, and it was a big goal, but by saving the money then on the books, then that allowed you to maybe have the money for 3 other things that you had on your list. So looking back on your list and seeing what could we do in a different way, that might save you only $100 this time, but it might be $10,000 another time, it might be $1,000, but as a way to make it so, yeah, your community is involved and people are helping, but it might be buying the snacks for you that you can now use the money for that. You know, just different things, but it could be 6 things that your school could have community help with that helps you buy that one really big thing that's important in your building. And maybe even your buildings are working together, your 2x4, a bunch of us could buy us a 2x4, but then maybe that means then he can go get the parts for his microscopes and you can go get that or whatever. So just looking at the whole big list too is, can we get a whole bunch of little things that maybe Jennifer just needs 12 things that we honestly could have done that way. And now some of her money actually could be used for something, even if it's in a different building. But I think there's a lot of ways to now look at the big list and let's get down even right now to pennies and who can help us, and you might be able to get businesses to help us and all kinds of things. So, and I don't know, I'm sure you remember, I'm sure a lot of you, when we did the tracks the one time, and we even had the great big thing that was posted all the time about the money, and they were raised in all different ways. So we got it, we're here, and we paid for an entire track. And yeah, it costs a whole lot more nowadays, right? But it was a big thing, and it was important to a lot of people, you know. So anyway, I just think there's maybe ways that we now say, you know, okay, we're to a point that we have to think about different ways to come up with the money and help. And I might be able to help one time, and maybe not the next time, but somebody else can, you know.
Are the IA and part-time, full-time, and union issue?
No, it's traditionally, our district and most across the state will hire up to a point where, you know, pay full family insurance. And the challenge is, you bump into insurance, it doubles the cost of instructional assistance. With that said, though, we're looking at doing that with a number of instructional assistants as part of the supplemental budget to try to support students and staff. So
You could back 5 hours a day with money.
yes, but all of them probably not. I mean, you can always adjust and move budgets around. You know, we have to take from, for example, what we have to take from one area and shift to another. Like the student investment account, we have to shift maybe away from, you know, not charging for athletics, maybe charge a small amount for athletics. Use some of that money. So there's ways to move things around. It depends on, you know, what the priority is.
I think to answer your question during collective bargaining, we tried to bring up the topic of the cost of health insurance and how it did kind of steer us to not be able to offer full-time positions. And some classified employees have 100+% benefit rates. Sometimes they were pricing things out, and so that was something though, like they weren't interested in either like grandfathering some people into the current plan and resetting health insurance for the people who hired, at least during the spring, wasn't a discussion that we
But it sounds like we're trying to start with something a total different way to figure it out. I don't know, we were talking about that.
Is this the year we should be getting the football field? It might be a rehab football field. Yeah, which
does the annual deputy, does the final one, a field can last for about 12 years. So I think we've built our return to cover the cost on it. For there at least now. We pull in.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for listening. Yeah.
We have a groomer. There's ready to money in a groomer.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, of course.
You know, if it's so square, you know, like participation was there. So,
I do have a question, actually, if you replace, there's a lot of area on football, field, there's very little where you have to replace the
Just like pull back and then reorganize like the tiers or something and then push back over.
I don't know that about it.
Yeah, I'm not either. There's a lot of material you have to, it's a project.
A lot of the initial costs is integrated in the subdivision, which is why
Drainage.
the actual turbo bill to replace that.
Can we have guests here, so?
Can I ask one question on this first part? Is there possibly though in our district other uses? Honestly, that football. Even things like, you know, I just started an idea out or even things on the inside of the building.
The challenge is those fibers are really longer, and the layer of material and back cone up, and so the fibers are up through all the little parts, and that's what gives it the feeling like a grass, real grass field. So they take up all those colors, and then you're left with like this long hairy thing. And so I'm not sure if we could repurpose it and back there or not. But it's not like a carpet where cut out the carpet and, you know.
Yeah, the only reason I'm asking is, I can't remember how long ago it was, but it was actually on the daycare side. And the one place had done that, they had taken up, if they cut the football field up into rolls that were a certain width, so you would be about a 12 by 12 piece of carpet, for example, and you could buy by the foot, what you wanted to do daycare, but your playground, you name it. And they didn't cut that long strip, so they knew like if you wanted 12 by 20, if you wanted 12 by 14. And at that time, they gave them away free just so everybody can have, but I remember it came.
They're for sale now.
Yeah, they're for sale now, and you can buy them, but I mean, it's not a terrible price, so it's great for, like, everybody helps to make some money towards. It's just we got to that point in time that we are going to just have to replace it. I still think there's a lot of people that would use them for us.
The person that's selling them is the contractor, you know, who pays them home services and so,
Yeah.
sold wholesale, so there's a big parking lot for it.
But, you know, we could make the money and
We
sell
don't
it.
know how to do that.
We have,
Could you bring this up and maybe we can put across the back?
Can we go out of order?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Chrissy, you want to stop copy? Did I give you a stop copy? Okay.
Cut over last year.
Yeah,
I have.
you do, okay.
Bill, are you asking to go out of order for?
Yeah, I was gonna ask if they could wait for the first part, so we could go ahead and do this.
We're all budget priorities, right? So we
Ross, did ADT hear what you're gonna do? I think you're welcome to stay for the whole thing.
No one's required to be here for anything. Okay.
It was my understanding part of the plan was to hear your deliberation about the budget priority.
Yeah.
So then, when they started their work, they.
Something you would get themselves into.
Yeah, and he attempts to run efficient meetings, so it's not that bad anyway.
You guys pass the budget priorities on, and he's specifically wanting to be here to hear the admin, this morning, he felt very well in. But we can put it in and move to the different part of the agenda.
I think mostly maybe you're just wanting an introduction, that is
Well-
video and compare the content.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would like to, you can introduce our applicant for the budget committee. Just so that everybody knows, I mean, you can hear this report.
Well, we need to finish the budget priority
Discussion.
list, but we could table that now. if
No,
that's-
they want to hear the budget discussion. We're starting with Chris.
We gotta get them in practice. See what one.
This is last year that we're going to report into this year.
Lindsay, are you still in?
So how are you in our party reserve fund?
We did not establish a per reserve fund, we just budgetarily, it's been a goal, and then just trying to balance out the budget. We have not had one. We have been in a position though where our PERS, at least for the next item, our rate is down again. So we've been able to just by calculation stave off PERS rate increases, so it makes us a little bit of an anomaly among other school districts. So at least for 2025, our rate is good.
So based on what you've heard, and what you know and want for our community, review the budget priorities to start talking with the way down. Sure. Right, so the closing total gap, that's a lot of budget for additional structural support. Do we want to keep that as a board, or do you think that will be captured elsewhere?
Already captured, but you do not want to lose the summer school and other enrichment activity opportunities, because both of them really good right now.
And you don't want to lose the bullet points under that. So maybe we can get rid of the closing the COVID gap and just rephrase that as create additional instructional support for students. Or continue support, instructional support for students in summer and other enrichment activities. So rather than make up for loss, you just say continue. It sounds negative and the world is kind of has COVID now, so I think just continue.
Yeah, I like
There.
Yeah, then that keeps the summer.
Yeah, it keeps everything on that list the way it is.
All right. So the first, do you want to consider additional instructional support for teachers?
Yes.
Support of CP expansion. Should we remove the healthcare track? I saw that you see the Facebook.
Yeah, there's other things in CTE that are happening, so you may need additional personnel or something there as well, so.
We change the consider additional, I just like, IA with possible full time or expanded day. Reach for the stars.
Well, instructional, so to me, I was considering instructional support, maybe additional training, because we have some methods, what's the other program where we're sending?
RCI, response to intervention.
Yeah, there's some of those, and I think, that, I want to, so instruction, it is just instructional assistance. We can go ahead and leave, consider FTE instructional assistance, but then if you're going to do that, put another bullet in there, support for teacher development.
Automatic.
Say the email, because we're not going to be using it.
I have to do a little bit afterwards, so I fill this in.
Like that, good job.
That's terrible, that's embarrassing.
So for the
I wouldn't want to do that on screen.
instructional assistant, I think we were looking for something along the lines of like work towards
So,
full time.
well, we wouldn't call it additional instructional assistant, why don't we just work toward instructional assistant FTE? not really talking about add more. It's just, if we're going to have FTE, we're certainly not going to be adding numbers.
Right. Protect student ending fund balance.
Board policies by the general fund as far as the use. It can go 3% for approval. That's already in the policy.
We could probably remove that as a thinking right now.
Yeah.
That it just doesn't seem like.
The improvement of I think so. Then policy. That kind of protects it.
I think everyone says it's always been to make sure we do that.
So we didn't remove that as a priority, but it's in district policy. So
It's now enshrined, yeah.
If you were a big word on the time.
Maintain reasonable class size numbers. Yeah. One. Continue to develop district culture that instills a commitment to community, parent education opportunities, staff support, developing connectivity, and enrichment. Yes. Hold a diversity, equity lens when considering access to and allocation of budget resources.
If we're going off of the strategic plan, we can probably add, talented, gifted, the diversity, equity, talented, gifted, special resources. How that one is elaborated on, for the words in there,
Oh, question 4.
Yeah.
Strategic plan.
yeah. Maybe that could be elaborated on a little bit more.
No, sorry.
They do, they'll get it, nothing, but you get it.
The word this now, or I want to do it.
That's fine, that's what I'm saying, so
We'll work on it. Next one, facility maintenance and improvement, all weather surfaces, elementary schools. Bill, I know that's near and dear to your heart, we want to keep that there.
eventually that would be a grand thing. Am I correct that we are taking the money that we reserved for that and using it for playground, or are we still have our money that we reserved for that?
So we've never created a reserve for all of our services. And this current budget, the 22-23 budget, included a transfer of capital project fund for playground structure.
Okay, so then this could still be something that is on.
Could we maybe add to it?
Yeah, but the all-weather surface, I think is still something I've just been to McBride in the wintertime, and it's, it was a wetlands when they bought the land, and it's still a wetlands.
Yeah.
I mean, it's underwater literally, and it'd be nice if kids could go out there and run around and take it.
We are budgeting them for playgrounds. I know that they would like to have more if possible. My thinking is if it's on there, teachers look, or staff, or community look, they see it as a priority. But you're right, it is a process, so we could add playgrounds and just have the all-weather services. That's new.
I'm okay with if we remove that third one and just the last one.
The third plus.
Well, okay, replacement, repair of instructional equipment. That was replacing, at one point, at the high school, we had that, and then I kind of pulled that out. We were actually budgeting a regular amount, And then we pulled it out because we thought, oh, we just passed the budget, I don't need to ask for that anymore. Buy all the science equipment when the time comes. They don't have a place to put it now, we'll wait till the budget, and then we find out that we're really glad that we didn't give us science classrooms, but there wasn't any money for buying updated equipment. So, part of that was replacement, repair of instructional equipment also goes for, if you go into the metal shop, you'll find that a lot of the machinery is dysfunctional. You have to use 3 different milling machines to do one operation because each one's broken in a different way.
So we pick that up and do like CTE improvements for the high school export and maybe, also the sound system at Columbia City.
Yeah, I think the playground is gonna get covered.
So just take off the playground and instead just say instructional equipment.
So then add the Columbia City auto, whatever that is, in, on that same line.
Or you can say prepare of instructional and or sound.
We've been asking for that for a while. But the high school, so, I swear, we were like, you can't hear it, so they turned them all out, and now they need to turn them off and learn to hear again.
That'd be easy repair.
I mean,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's
for
the.
the last year, we've been using like a portable sound system for assemblies because we just simply cannot get the built-in sound system in the stadium to work with us. And when we can get it to work with us, usually the sound is very drowned out. You can't hear it very well.
The speakers are listening anymore. But for originally, we were saying, it's too loud, it's too
We
loud.
were at one time so bad that it was killing.
Yeah, so then they
Well,
went,
it
so the
was
speakers out,
working
and now
at
you
one
can't
point,
hear
but
it.
these things have a lifespan, living where they do. They're outside and those speakers and things, they seem to. I remember when they put in what they have, it's really nice. Really was. Hear it.
I think that our facility was.
Unfortunately, that's when I was teaching.
My reminder will go out at 9 a.m. to hear it.
Yeah, so maybe, if not now, maybe within the next year or two, it will probably be high time to look at replacing those speakers. Because, like Phil said, they are approaching the end of their life, especially with them living in an outside environment, in our state especially. And either they're too loud or they're too quiet, and people cannot hear them. And it's gotten to the point where us as like leadership putting on assemblies, we've had to use portable sound systems and had to brace whatever weather we
Are we good with this facility piece? Yeah. Have budget reflect new innovative instructional models for all students in Detroit.
From college and elective at the high school, joint enrollment. That's what I recall that.
Yeah, with everything from dual enrollment to maybe a kid is part-time in online virtual academy and part-time in the regular classroom. And that does take more resource than if it's just in virtual or if it's just in classroom, with the hybrid things. Yeah, it takes more resource, but that's another thing that you're going.
It's a big side note, right? Don't want to walk it too much. We gotta get through this, get through the agenda. But I saw the corporate public is closing down their virtual academy. We had 120 kids out of their 45,000. We have 200 in our academy. So we're doing pretty well. And I would guess some of those kids would come for a brick and mortar school, discover the academy, but a vast majority of them would go to the other online programs that are offered from the state.
send invitation to the DPS students.
Good idea.
I mean, if they've lost a program, to offer that as an alternative.
When we had like
I think
over,
that the students-
I think I'm not really good for years, kind of things like that. Are we doing?
No, different than most schools.
That's the case, they've been doing it for years.
Okay, maintain curriculum adoption reserve. I think that's a really good thing. Establish PERS reserve with savings in rates to offset future rate increase. I like this, but I don't like this. And my reasoning is kind of my comment earlier. I think it's prudent to watch what we're spending, but we also need to be careful that we don't put too much in reserve and shortchange the children today. And I'm always worried about that, but I also don't want to end up with a bill for the PERS.
I think there's additional help from outside the district. I think it's not just our problem. It's a global problem.
At the same time, and never come before, if we have teachers that stay here forever, we don't have kind of, we don't have somebody leaving somebody else's position to pay for them. They stay with us the whole time, and we have a lot that stick around for one. That'd be the one to put the money away for it. It's not just gonna come from some other school district along the way. Yes, so.
Well,
they
Mr.
keep
Software
sticking
and
with
I have
us,
been
yeah.
around a long time.
Not the only ones that have been around.
And we continue to remain.
If it was only Tuesday, I wouldn't worry about it.
Although they pay.
I'm not retired yet.
We put out there, we need a golden spirit there.
Okay, so I think we're okay with removing that for this year, if they return future years. All right. Christine and I will sit down and do a little wordsmithing on that one from the strategic plan.
Is there anything we want to look at first? Really quickly, that we missed?
I was gonna say, all the things else, but I don't think we have anything there. I mean, not that we can do it,
I think he captured quite a bit.
but I feel like we caught what, we noticed what we had written there, and maybe we're missing. Like, we should at least go back through and make sure there's not something that would fall under a category, it's a high priority. That's why I'm asking for the list from what they said tonight, at least to be able to go back and forth and look at it. It's so easy later to have, but I told you guys about that, and I go, oh, no, I forgot all about that, so that's the only reason
I
why I
always have the running list at home when I'm brushing my teeth.
That's funny, that's right, my thinking, yeah, connect flow charts and stuff off in the bathroom.
Solve so many problems.
maybe that's how we get all kids to start referencing.
I don't know, I've been thinking through this, like the summer school building improvement.
Well, that's what I was saying.
Training for staff, so it's a lot.
That's when I thought it would be, at least put the list side by side on, and we can say, hey, that falls into that category. But if it doesn't, just to add that category.
Prepare your dream.
Are we good?
Once you get in there, yeah.
I think we're ready to move on. Good work.
All right. Well, then, go back here to, the actual 5.2, 502 business report instead.
Lots of budget stuff tonight. So first, the Richard's going to introduce Katie, who joined us today. She applied for.
That's so hard to say.
One of the budget, she applied for, or applied for one of the reopen budget. So, we do have a copy of our application. I just want to stay true to form with Heidi, kind of jumping in with the administrators talking about their themes and offering like ideas about hands-on wish lists. I haven't submitted anything thank you letter to Heidi for her support of our program alongside. So I just think it's kind of true to form, but it's a pleasure being here today. So if you guys have any questions, I think just for the business of the board needs to appoint you to a seat. I believe there's at least one seat that has a full 3-year term, and I think there's another that has a 1-year term. Do you have a preference? Start with one, and boom, from there. Yeah, how about that? See what I'm getting
We can reappoint you, but we know who.
Right. I'm just gonna, I will confirm that before we get to the action point, but, sure. Yeah, so anyway, yeah. Want to ask for any other questions?
Yeah, any questions? 'Cause that's really vague application. Yeah.
Some of the acronyms, I'm not sure what they are. Do you want to expand on that? You want to say? The IIDA and the IDS?
Oh, interior design. So I work for Nature Materials for a block manufacturer. I've been there now 28 years almost. So I work with a lot of all the architects and interior designers, your big builders, helping facilitate their projects, specs, materials, all of that kind of coordination. So those are just some of the different industries.
What do you think of baby blue?
Maybe for no, not interior. No.
Resume right here.
Yeah, that was that, and then,
This was a comment about the cafeteria.
They were baby blue and they like kept calling out, like it looks like a
I'm sorry,
legacy.
but I have a lot of opinions on
Okay, we have this conversation in private.
Bill and I have had several conversations, but, so that's kind of what I do there. I also, work with the MMA promotion company for however many years now.
You just kicked the bucket.
So we would put on all the shows, and I was the money person, and then of course everything, everything with it. So I thought it coming through, so maybe it was going down.
You mentioned you do have children in the same home.
I have a child in the high school.
Congratulations, you've made it this far.
Yeah. Yep. The band. Yeah.
Just in case you want to know what she sells, just look at building D.
No, I'm glad to meet you.
From the road.
Submission number 4 when it comes to the action plan. I'll just move on to section 5.2, and I'm gonna pull these in the screen. So we have the need for 2 supplemental budgets, of which typically are required to increase the budget appropriation allocation. So the first is going to be resolution number 11, and it pertains to the general fund. You'll see a variety of changes in resources, most of which is coming from an updated, the actual results of our beginning fund balance. So in order to, let me step back. We would like to increase expenditures by about $900,000. And in order to offset that, we have a variety of revenues which are, for us, maybe better than when we projected back in May. So beginning fund balance, as you guys have seen in cash flow report throughout the year, that ended favorably. So we're recognizing a portion of that in the supplemental budget. We might look at intermediate sources. That's not really an area that has a lot of activity, but you may recall that we transitioned quite a few staff out of the ESC to become St. Helens employees, so posted positions and hired. And we weren't quite sure where we would land, especially because some of those positions are hard to fill. But in reconciling those positions we were able to hire, this is increasing the amount that we're now cashing out with the ESP. So instead of using service credits, they're so because we're doing that expense correctly. So that isn't very typical when we've done past supplemental budgets, but it's happening this year. And then state sources you'll see is actually reducing our year-end enrollment last year was slightly less than what was projected to be. So if all constants remain the same as the state school fund reconciliation, we actually expect that May reconciliation will go a little bit back to ODE. And because we're a district who this year is being paid according to last year's enrollment, that also has a current year effect. So instructional expenses and supporting services are increasing by remaining curriculum, the ELA adoption is just slightly more than what we had budgeted, so we're taking that $47,000 difference out of the reserve to do for that. So when you look at supporting services, those are tied to either new high-cost students or additional nursing services that are required to support student situation. And then when it comes to instruction, I know Scott talked to you about some plans assisting the elementary schools with additional IE and teacher support. And where you also see those additional EFD employees coming into play. So anyways, that is our general fund. Are there any questions? We're projected to end the year with an 8.73% approved. Right, number 12 is our special revenue fund. And, you know, we always know that there's going to be a few grants that come out and are exciting. We've had quite a few pop up this year, so we're providing a special revenue fund supplemental budget so that we can recognize those resources. And as you can see, with facilities and acquisition and construction costs allocate those expenses. So specifically, when we're looking at 40 grants, I believe almost all of these have been approved. One is going to come up to the board in the consent agenda in 2 weeks. The supplemental budget covers the IDEA equipment grant. That's the more recently approved, as well as there were some additional funds that came in with our House Bill 3499 English Language Learner Improvement Grant. You also recall Joe Mock at the high school. He received a sizable grant from the Bureau of Labor Industries for his heavy machinery class. And then the new award you'll hear about is the Oregon Geographical, will support secondary students with college, like exploratory activities for college. So those 4 new grants and their associated expenditures are reflected in this supplemental budget. Any questions? Yeah, that concludes my business.
Well, this is a hand over to the 5.2.1. Sorry, can you ask? Well, I know that, you know, like actually talking about, I'm sorry. You want to talk to her at all?
Yes.
Well, no, making sure she doesn't have any questions or stuff for us or anything like that.
Trial by fire. Okay, throw me in, figure it out. I'm good.
Yeah, but just make sure she wasn't there. And you guys are good talking about that. All right, what will you come up with? I'm going to come.
Oh, I will ask a question. I'm not scared to ask a question.
Okay. All right. All right, well then, I think that's pretty much everything. Next, we turn over to 5.3.
Yeah, I had 2 items that I wanted to share with you today. First one, I wanted to give a quick report on the listening session we had last year. We had a couple board members there, Brandon and Bill, which was nice to have. We had about 15, just under 20. Yeah, not too bad. I think the big points that were discussed, we talked about the early college high school program over at PCC, and the big piece of that was folks who don't know about it. And so we do some work on getting that word out. So our community understands. There's great suggestions. We should have somebody talking at the 8th grade orientation for 9th grade, because when they go into high school, they should know that that might be an option. We had a couple students there that gave some really good feedback, and one of them said, I've never heard of it before. And the other said, yeah, I think I heard about it. I think my girlfriend told me that there was a program like that. But we've got some work to do. Everybody there was really excited, asked great questions, thought it was just fantastic. But again, they want to know about it. So they need to get those programs. So that's something that we're going to be working on.
Yeah. Do you understand what that is? Yeah. You might as well tell me.
So we have a partnership with the Helens School District, and it's like a running start or a 2+2 program where students are dual enrolled at St. Helens High School and at PCC. And it's ran by the Helens School District. That's our partnership. We have an agreement with them. We have 30 slots, 15 this year, and then 15 additional next year. So we have a group of juniors that will become seniors, and then juniors will come in. We currently have, I believe, 8 or 9 kids in the program, and we want to max it out to 30. And what students can do is they can graduate in 4 years with an associate's degree in a high school diploma. They go to PCC Rock Creek full-time after their sophomore year, and because it's a partnership, they can still participate in athletics in high school. They can do band if they want to do band. So it's a really great combination of the two programs. Most people, when they first hear about it, think it's a program for our high flyers. And really, it's a program for kids who feel like, I'm kind of over high school. I want to get on with my life. Almost like an option school, like
That was me, that was
well,
yeah, right.
not all of the students receive their associates. Many of them graduate with a high school diploma and some type of a certificate. And others that want to go to a four-year university don't necessarily get all the prerequisites for an associate, because they're getting prerequisites to go to Oregon State or Florida State or whatever. So it's a fantastic program. They've got great supports through Beaverton. They've got a full-time counselor that runs a class on how to be successful in college, and the kids have to take that. They're monitored on a regular basis. But after that class, the students are in the regular college classes, and professors have no idea whether they're a high school student or a 22-year-old student that's decided to go back. So it's a great program for us. We just need to get the word out. So that was that piece. The other one is concern and just confusion between Parent View and Canvas. So Parent View is our information systems connected with Synergy. And that is what holds all of our data about and information about students and families. That's where you enroll. That's where your transcript is held. Canvas is a platform where classes are delivered. It also grades. And so we have inconsistencies, particularly at the secondary schools, where some teachers are putting grades in Canvas and others are putting them in Parent View, and then people look to find out what the grade is, and they might have, I think a good example, we have somebody that's very close to you shared, they have a total set points of say 250 points. A student can turn, and that may be for the full semester, a student may turn in 4 papers and get 100% on every paper, but that only adds up to
50 points or 100 points.
Right. Then they're marked as having an F, when really they're doing A+ work, and you look at parent view, it's saying, or Canvas, so there's some struggles there. I talked with our principals that you need to get together a team of middle school staff, high school staff, bring them together, come with some agreements, and we need to have some consistency. So that is in process, but I completely understand and frankly have similar frustrations with my own children. I'm trying to figure out what they, I don't think. Yeah.
This one doesn't use this one. Okay.
And it does seem like it's really easy to just tell them to do it, but there's so many teachers that, but we will do it. We're going to get it worked out. So that was a concern. And then finally, one that you're very familiar with is frustration over yearbook. And how are you going to address that? Observe yearbooks. We haven't seen those for a number of years. I do know that one of our recent hires, we're hoping to have them have one full period where all they're doing is putting together and managing the yearbook. So we're looking at different ways to resolve that. I know that we just had a field come for this week's yearbook, and we changed that to the question of the hand build better than that. We are going to stay on top of that. But those are really the big picture, bigger items. Bill, did anything else come to mind?
Those are the three main issues with quality. Part of it was just wondering about the ACC program, frustration that we said was going on. I think everything else was just kind of complimentary from some good things that were going on. The students were really insightful. They had done anything to say. It was nice to have them.
Okay, so the next thing I'd like to do is move on to graduation rates. I'm going to share my screen again. All of you have the document, but I thought if there's anybody out there watching, they can take a look at what we're looking at. There we go. So this is, you take a look, top is Plymouth, the next is St. Helens High School. The virtual academy is still really pretty small. I didn't include that, and we also have St. Helens School District on there. If you look at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th column, 2021 4-year cohort graduation, that's our graduation rate for last year. You can see Plymouth High School students were at 37.04. Extra.
I feel like I've seen the report card.
Oh, look, this is like, it's very large print here though, too. All right, cool.
So,
Is it the quality of video card or is it the?
I think it's the focus of that.
I'm just wondering because Christie's was worse than yours, so that's why I'm asking. I started thinking.
Hey, well, there you go.
I can make it bigger, but can't see it all, but I can.
Nobody gets.
We haven't heard
That's
of
what
it.
we're doing now.
We can really, we can scroll. So you can look, you see the 37.04, that's low, really low. However, at Plymouth High School, students go there generally after their freshman or sophomore year, and they go there because the comprehensive high school isn't fitting for them. It's an option school for us. Quite often, those students are failing when they go to that school. And at Plymouth, most kids graduate in 5, some 6 years, 7 years, but most every student graduates through the system. But the way the state, we have to report it, makes us appear like we've got a really bad graduation rate. Well, we don't have a great graduation rate with these kids in 4 years, but we have a great graduation rate for completers. What we are working on in the district is why wait for those kids to fail? That seems silly. And so we've got a full-time principal over there now. The program was run for years by Colin Grove, and she did a fantastic job. And by putting in a full-time administrator, our hope is to maybe move forward. So rather than wait for kids to fail, we're working with the high school and at the middle school to identify kids who might be better served, who have that anxiety, who may not fit the comprehensive high school, that we can get them in the option school to improve that four-year graduation rate and not wait for them to fail. And we have other options too. We have the virtual academy, which I believe will help too. We've done a lot in beefing up this program, especially with all the options to gain credit. So we're looking for that to go up. You see the stars in there. There's many more different categories that you can break out. And I just went through and closed off any of the areas where we had not enough students to really identify. And once it gets below 5 students, they mark those out because then students become identifiable. So that's why they do that. So you can see here, like our Hispanic and Latinx group, we didn't have enough students for them to report on. They're included in the all students. But if you scroll down,
I will say that we had a few students at Helens, and they were there, especially longer than their cohort, and we were very, very supportive, and I think that they're doing wonderful things.
yeah, absolutely. And the graduation rate doesn't reflect on good work that they do. I think that's a great point.
We also accept transfers from other districts to Vermont. So when we accept that student, their number goes up and ours goes down.
Right.
And then people want to compare and say, well, they did better than you. Well, actually, we did better than them because we accepted those kids that they were taking care of.
One thing I think to note is that between the 21-22 and the 2021 year, we improved from 33 to 37. Now, that's a pretty small number. That likely is one student. It's still an improvement, but that's good, right? Looking at our high school, we had 80.9% of our students, of all students graduate. You can see that our Hispanic and Latinx group is at 60%. Our white kids were at 83, economically disadvantaged at 72, students with disabilities were at 80, and our CTE concentrators, which is no surprise, 87%, and that's pretty typical across the state. Kids that focus on CTE programs and to graduate with high rates. So if you look at that, do you see anything interesting between all those numbers between last year's, well, year before last, 2021 and 21-22? Anything stand out? Yes. So that's something to note exactly. If you look, every single category went up except for our Hispanic and Latinx group. That's something that's concerning, certainly. I always, even for all students, we're looking at the 80.9 by 81%. I'm worried about the 19%. What are we going to do about those? 81 is great, but we're always want to consider them all. Very similar to the reason why Plymouth has asterisks, and we talked about, well, it's probably one student that jumped us from 33 to 37. It's about 2 students that moved us from 70 to 60 with our Hispanic and Latinx. Now, those 2 students are really important, and we need to figure out why those 2 students did graduate, but we also need to find out why the others didn't as well. But I think it's important to note that across the board, everyone else went up. What do we do about those other 2? However, and this is kind of in line with what Mr. Amos said, there's a paper, not our local paper, but another paper that likes to compare us. And rather than noting every group in St. Helens went up, except for one, they highlighted that one group went down what's wrong, and those two kids. Now that's, again, those two kids are important, we need to find out about those two kids. But I get tired of seeing the good work that our teachers do every day, and our students, the hard work that they're putting in, to continually be kind of put down and compared. There's good stuff going on. But anyway, I'll get off my complaint.
So that means you find some kids who want to be reporters and you put your own kids in.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
You could compare Leo to go community life.
Yes, it is going to be done.
there we go. So then that rolls us up to our overall rate. All students, we're at 73%. We need to get that higher, but that's a reflection of this 37%. So quite often folks want to compare district-wide. Well, we have now 3 different high schools in the St. Helens School District. Other school districts our size have 1, and so they compare the 1 graduation rate. We have 3 graduation rates that they compare to when they look at the district-wide. So when we compare ourselves with other districts our size, we try to focus on this is what the St. Helens High School graduation rate is. I see growth, but I also see a lot of room for growth, and there's a lot of work that's going on right now that is going to continue to grow it. If you can remember back 8 years now, we were at 72%. And right before the pandemic, we were pushing 87, 85, 87. And I took a hit. Now we're building ourselves back up. So
this class will graduate as knowledge of the high school, how it was pre-pandemic, and then we're going to come upon those 3 years of essentially COVID children that have never had normal until now. So that was my wonder or request that we can do on-track graduation rates for the years that we have currently, freshman, sophomore, and junior, and see where we might need to be supporting right now.
one thing that we're really working at is the RTI work. And you've heard teachers talk about it's life-changing, right? It changed my practice. RTI is interventions, and those are the interventions that should be supported with kids. So that's some of the work. I'm excited to see what we do.
How do you help that kid that learns differently or is struggling in one particular area within your classroom? And how you can change their trajectory, rather simple at first. That's the thing that's really empowering about RTI is really being able to change that kid's trajectory. And not minimal effort, but with reasonable effort.
There's a question from one of our guests.
No, answer.
Yes, thank you.
That's all I've got.
Okay, then we're moving on.
So that was everything. If you guys have for and all the things that have anything.
I'm going to go to
Yes. Okay. All right, well, then let's do this one for the visitors to their board, and we don't have, and now we will do that was our agenda item. Right, so now we're going to go to 7.0, action item. It starts out with 7.1. That's a point to budget community member. So now's your chance to run. Now, yeah.
I will move to approve the Heidi's part, the budget, number 4 position.
And move and second to appoint the clerk to position number 4 on our position. All those in favor say aye. Aye, okay, good. Right. No. You're here and you're permanent. Congratulations, and thank you very much.
for a year.
You got me for a year.
You were gonna make it like.
Temporarily.
I keep trying to use something.
Well, yeah, you're for a snack list.
on to 7.2, which is the resolution 2022-23, number 11, supplemental budget number 1, general fund.
Moved.
It's been moved and seconded to accept action item 7.2. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
7.3, which is resolution 2022-23, number 12, supplemental budget number 2, special revenue.
So moved again.
Yeah. Ryan beat me. I was going for the eye already.
It's at 7.3. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So 8.0, upcoming meeting input is the February 22nd, 2023 board planning session at 6 p.m. Everybody good?
That needs a correction.
No, I was thinking of
That's the regular meeting, and that's at 3, February 22nd, is the regular board meeting. And then the dates of interest, as a reminder, March 8th is the regular board meeting, and we remove the March 15th.
So we're not saying board planning against the one, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So the February 22nd is just the regular board, and the March 8th is the regular board. Okay. So you take out your planning,
So this is at 6:30. And 15th is gone?
Yes.
And this is 6:30.
Yeah, because June, right, so regular on this 22nd, regular on, and both at 6:30. So they got that right?
Yes.
And I noticed that we're not pushed out February 21st yet.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that.
It went out to the elementary.
We're the only one in fact, right? Okay. I'm not kidding, not one of my kids.
I haven't really scattered my emails, but I have not seen it.
A lot of states push it out now. What I want is the company to build it. And they were asked to push it out for a little bit of Sunday.
We'll check on that with them.
If we can more or something, we're not gonna pay attention to it right now. We're all getting more accurate of that, and it just means we're gonna say anything that
Send it up.
Yeah.
I do have some good news before we So we're moving to, because the current Blackboard, which is the company that runs our website, got bought out by another company. So that's going to slowly disappear, Blackboard not support anymore. So from the bottom out, we're transitioning over to Blackboard, and I think this is the problem we've been having for years. To only pull one calendar, Google or wherever, into the main district calendar. This new system, you can pull in as many calendars as you want, so you can have finally one district calendar and pull every calendar. Now, the parents can look at it and go, okay, I don't want to see what's going on with Friday elementary school, then they'll get everything else. So I think that would be.
So there's a great difference over McBride, I want to know about it.
Very excited about it.
This might remove the excuse of having a concert and dinner on the night of a board meeting.
There you go.
That's a whole nother.
Good luck.
I want to share that, because I was very excited.
Yeah, you could put that together first, though, then we could make our board meeting be one we wanted to do too, so there's something to look at. All right, and with that, if there's nothing else, Damon, you all ready to speak?